Welcome to part 9 of this series, trying to locate the sons of Noah and where they really went to. In this video we're going to be looking at the sons of Canaan, some of these sons of Canaan. But let's first look to see what the name Canaan means. Now it's connected to this meaning of the land of purple, but also international trade. So let's first look to see what this land of purple means. And this is connected to the Phoenicians. Now the Phoenicians were a maritime empire, very important in the ancient world. And it says here, it is debated whether Phoenicians were actually distinct from the broader group of Semitic-speaking peoples known as Canaanites. Historian Robert Drews believes the term Canaanites corresponds to the ethnic group referred to as Phoenicians by the ancient Greeks. So the ancient Greeks referred to the land of Phoenicia, they referred to the land of Canaan as Phoenicia, and the Canaanites as Phoenicians, but it's saying that maybe other groups, other tribes, may have also been labeled as Phoenician, because they may be living in the land of Canaan, in the region of Canaan. Now there's an interesting thing about the origin of these Phoenicians. It says here, the 4th century BC Greek historian Herodotus claimed that the Phoenicians had migrated from the Erythraean Sea around 2750 BC. And the 1st century AD geographer Strabo reports a claim that they came from Tylos and Arad. So that's modern day Bahrain and Muharraq. And this is known as the Dilmun civilization. The ancient Dilmun civilization was in this region of Bahrain and Muharraq. But this is interesting because we've spoken about the Erythraean Sea, so we kind of know, we should know where that region is. That's near the Indian Ocean. Let me show you. So this region here was known as the Erythraean Sea, and the historian and the geographer is saying that the Phoenicians may have originated in this area, going into towards Bahrain. Let me show you Bahrain. It's here. Okay, this is Bahrain, so you can see this is where they say this Dilmun civilization was. So they're saying this may be the home of the Phoenicians, but if you look at what we've been presented with, they say this is the home of the Phoenicians here, in in modern day Syria and Lebanon. So this makes me wonder, because the Greeks are not living too far from this region, and the Greeks came into contact with the Phoenicians quite a lot. So if this was the home of the Phoenicians, surely the Greeks would know, and they would say that the Phoenicians originated by near the island of Cyprus. If this is their origin, you would think they would know it was here. But I'm not saying that the Phoenicians weren't in this area and influenced in this area, because there were mining operations in Cyprus. Cyprus is very important in the ancient world for mining. Important metals are found on this island, and also maybe strategically important. But let's look to see. I just want to show you something about this this Dilmun civilization. There was Dilmun. There was something interesting I saw here with this Dilmun. It says here, the Sumerian tale of the Garden of Paradise of Dilmun may have been an inspiration for the Garden of Eden. So the Sumerians are speaking about a paradise in this region, and it's interesting that if we look on a map, see we've got the Gulf of Aden. So it's just connected to Eden, and maybe the Garden of Eden being in this region. And we've also got one of the rivers coming out of the Garden of Eden is known to, it says in the Bible that it encompassed the whole land of Ethiopia. So this region may have been maybe connected to the Garden of Eden, even going into maybe even Saudi Arabia. So that's this son Arwad, and in the Latin Aradus. This is the theory that they may have originated in this region. But this would be, if we look at the map again, I think it's here. This might be like if we want to say like the mother city, the home city, but there's actually another Arwad, which would have been a very important city. It was in Syria, and Syria is the land of Aram. The Greeks called Aram the land of Syria. So it would need to be thinking about, if I show you this map of Africa, remember we were talking about the land of Aram and being the land of Syria, being in this region. There could be an important place named Arad that we need to be looking for in this region. And I'll also show you a few options. Because this was a maritime empire, and they would have relocated, and they would have taken these names and used them in these different places, kind of like the practice where in England where we say, we have York, but in America we have New York. These Phoenicians would have used that practice, but we can see this is the Arad in Bahrain that we've already mentioned, but you also have Arada in the Chad. I see there's another Arada in Chad. Also an Arada in Portugal, which is interesting, just to show this possible influence of these Phoenicians. Okay, let's look at the next son, which is Arki. Now it's not easy to find information on some of these sons, because if you think about when Israel was going into the Promised Land and they were conquering these Canaanite tribes, some of these tribes would have had to have relocated and become immigrants looking for a new land. So some of them we don't have that much information on, but there was something interesting here. It says, now speaking about the Arkites, some of his descendants may have also traveled with the descendants of Heth, so that's the Hittites, into the New World, residing among the Adikara or Adikari Indian tribes of the Great Plains in North America. So there's this connection with some of these Canaanite tribes and North America and the Native American Indians. So I thought that was interesting. And we'll just look to see how this name also spread. So we've got Arki, look in India, another Arki in Nigeria, also Arki in Greece. So just we mentioned earlier about the connection with the Phoenicians and Greece civilization. So quite a few different examples of Arki. Now let's look to see the next son, and we're going to go on to Hivi. Now Hivi, we've kind of mentioned Hivi before, because we spoke about Edom and Esau, and Esau took a wife from the Hivites and also from the Hittites, and we were speaking about the land of Zaire, remember. Now the interesting thing about these Hivites is another connection to America. So I just want to read you this one. It says, the Hivites were driven out of the Middle East by the Philistines, according to Peter Tompkins. Many readers will be familiar with Peter Tompkins' stimulating work, The Mysteries of the Mexican Pyramids. In it, Tompkins used Odoez, Nayez, and native Mexican sources. Part of the Hivite tribe fled from Tyre, that's a Phoenician city, from whence they set sail for America. So saying that the Hivites migrated to America. So again, there's another connection with the Native American Indians, but in this case I think it's connecting it with Mexico and Guatemala, and it says that they may have migrated with the sons of Tyrus from Thrace. So that's interesting. But I wanted to just tell you about this other story about the Hivites, because one of the towns of Hivites was known as Gibeon, and we do have this Gibeon in Namibia. Okay. Now the story about I just want to kind of tell you a little bit about the story, just so in case you're not familiar with the Bible. Okay, so here's Gibeon, Namibia. So we've got the story in the Bible where the Israelites are coming into the Holy Land, and obviously now they're starting to conquer some of these cities and conquer some of these Canaanite tribes. But these Gibeonites, they obviously heard, and they may have been afraid. So they actually tricked Joshua, because Moses gave over control to Joshua, and it was actually Joshua that led the main conquest into the land of the Holy Land. But these Gibeonites tricked Joshua. Let me just tell you a brief synopsis of the story. So the Gibeonites actually pretended that they were actually coming from further away, and that they weren't a Canaanite tribe. So Joshua received them, and they kind of entered into a treaty or an alliance. But then when the other Canaanite tribes heard this, they were maybe they saw the Gibeonites as traitors, so they were going to destroy them and make war on them. So then the Gibeonites went to Joshua and said, we're in trouble, please help us. And that's when Joshua realized he'd been tricked, that the Gibeonites were actually a Canaanite tribe. And then he was kind of obliged to protect them. And then you have the famous war with Joshua against the Canaanites, and the story of the sun standing still. But we also have a story of God fighting on Israel's behalf. I just want to show you if I've got this Bible verse. This is Joshua 10:11. It says, "And it came to pass as they fled from before Israel, and were in going down to Beth Horon, that the Lord cast down great stones from heaven upon them unto Azekah, and they died. They were more which died with the hailstones than they whom the children of Israel slew with the sword." So saying that the Lord cast down great stones. Now this is interesting because we do have still on display what they're calling these meteorites, okay, in the land of Namibia. Yeah, these Gibeon meteorites. So could these be the large stones that the Bible is speaking about? Because this is in the same region, or a similar region to Gibeon. Okay, so that's a very interesting connection. Now, like with these things, you have to decide for yourself what do you make of it. No, we can't just because it says Gibeon say that this is actually the land of Gibeon. But when you have these other little details like these, finding these meteorites in this region, it makes you wonder. Because now you've got other connections that are making the picture stronger. Like we spoke about the land of Zaire, and the Hivites were living in the region of Zaire, and the Horites, and now you've got the story with Gibeon, and you are starting to find some potentially physical evidence to support the story. So I thought it was fascinating when I came across the the other scholars that are researching this field, making this connection. Okay, the next son we're going to look at quickly is the Girgashites. Now another son we don't have too much information on, but there was something interesting in here. It says, although the Girgashites are not referred to in the narratives of the wars of conquests, and their locality is not stated, they are named by Joshua among the peoples the Israelites dispossessed. This apparent inconsistency may be due to their emigrating to North Africa prior to the Israelites entering the land. So saying the Girgashites may have fled or migrated before. Maybe they heard that the Israelites were coming. This is further supported by Procopius, stating that the Phoenician diaspora settled in the western end of the Mediterranean, in the vicinity of latter-day Carthage. So this is interesting because now it's saying that we've got this connection with the Phoenicians with Carthage. Remember we spoke about Carthage at the start. This is considered a Punic civilization, and that's connected to red and connected to the Phoenicians. And he's saying that these Girgashites and Phoenician tribes were moving into this area of Tunisia. This is where Carthage was, in this region of Tunisia. And remember I spoke about the book of Jubilees, speaking about Canaan supposed to be dwelling to the west of his brother Put, which is Libya, but that he actually went into the land of went into the land of Shem, which became known as the land of Canaan. Now we see these Canaanite tribes emigrating to this region. So now maybe they're starting to inhabit the land they were supposed to from the beginning. That's quite fascinating. The next son we're going to look at is Hammer. Now this Hammer is quite important because of the kingdom or the city that he formed, or that's named after him, and that's Hammer or Hamat. And in the Bible it's named as Hamath the Great. So it must have been a very great kingdom or a great fortress, because it says it's connected to fortress, this word Hammer or Kamat. Now, it says here that it's near Damascus, and we've spoken about Damascus with our work that we've been doing. So if you haven't watched the videos, the previous parts, you need to watch the previous parts to have an idea of the picture that we're building. But we spoke about this Damascus in Nigeria, connecting it to maybe Damascus. So then we already have an idea that we're looking in this region near the Lake Chad, and they're saying that this hammer is near Damascus. So we just want to try to see what we can find here and see if we can build a picture in this area and get a better idea of the picture for this near this region of Damascus. So here, this is where it says about being connected to the word Kamat and fortress. So there may be more than one place named Hammer if it's known as a fortress, because there'll be many fortresses in the ancient world. But let's just first look to see what options we have, because there are a few options here. We've got Hammer in the Congo, but we've also got Hammer in Nigeria, which is interesting, because that's kind of in the area we're looking. So I would first, if you're trying to find these places, I would look at this one first. Hammer, Nigeria, Kebbi. Let's look to see where that is. Because, we're already looking in this region for Damascus, and here's Kebbi over here. So we've got a hammer in this region here. So I would study that one first, not ruling out the one in the Congo, but because of the vicinity of Damascus, and we've already seen, at the top, that they're locating it near Damascus. But let's just see a few other things that we can find in the near vicinity. Let's just look at this one here. It says, the few biblical reports state that Hamath was the capital of a Canaanite kingdom, whose king congratulated King David on his defeat of Adidazar, king of Zobar. Okay, so the Zobar might be in the near vicinity of this kingdom of Hamath. Now, when you're searching these things, if you want to start searching and getting into this investigating, you have to try different spellings. So you might search for Zobar and not find anything. But if you go look at the pronunciations and like the strong concordance, and you see it's also could be spelled with an S. If you spell it with an S, then you might find something. And we do have quite a lot of options for Soba spelled with an S. You can see there's many options here. So because we're looking in Nigeria, this one here would maybe be the most interesting, in Kaduna. Let's look at that. See here, right in the middle, Kaduna. But it's possible that it may have been quite a big kingdom, having an influence on quite a bit of the region. So can't be exactly sure of these other ones here in these other places, if it's all connected to like one kingdom, if it was a really big kingdom. But we also have to try and know what this word sober means to understand maybe why there could be more than one. But I would be looking at this one potentially, just to show you that there are these options in the region. Let's see if we can find a few other ones. So here it says here, there was an Aramaic inscription of Zakur, who was a dual king of Hamath and Luhuti. So it's connecting Hamath to Luhuti. Now, there's a few different ways to say this. Here we can see, look, Luhuti, Lukuti, Luash. So this is also going to be in a similar region, and we do have a potential for this. And where was it? It's here, I think. Here we got Lukuti in the Congo. So that's very similar to the word, this variation here, look, Lukuti. And you also look here, see another variation is Luash. And we do have Luashi in the Congo as well, so also in a similar area. So there are options. Now, it would be nice for people who are actually in the local people in the area, because they may have legends and knowledge and stories to maybe confirm some of these things we're looking at. that local knowledge is very important. But if we just think about this Hamath, there was something else I wanted to just speak about, trying to get an idea of this area and some of these places possibly. See how it says here the entrance of Hamath, or Lebo Hamath. And then we spoke about when we covered the story of Canaan. Obviously Lebanon is very famous in the ancient world, and it says here, do not dwell in the land of Lebanon from Hamath to the entering of Egypt. So this Hamath is obviously a very major important place in the ancient world, where they're actually using it as like a marker for territory, because they're saying from Hamath to Egypt. So it's very important, even like as using it as a geographical location. But we've got this Lebanon and this Hamath, and then in this you've got this also this Lebo Hamath. So I thought that was interesting, just to try to get an idea for this, because we've got this option of Hama in the Congo. Okay, so we can't really rule this out either, but I thought let's look for Lebo and see what comes up. And we got Lebo in the Congo as well, in a similar area. So just think about this for a second, because it was known as the entrance of Hamath, or Lebo Hamath. Let's just first see where this is to see. It's called Nord Ubangi. Let's have a look. So this region up here in Cameroon. Oh, sorry, no, we're talking Congo. Getting confused. This is the Congo. It's just in case you're not good with geography, and you're learning, like, I'm also trying to get better with the geography. Where's my map of Africa? Just so we know what we're talking about. Okay, so here's the Republic, the Democratic Republic of the Congo. This is the Cameroon, and this is Nigeria. So we're looking at the Congo at the moment. So we're looking at the province in the Congo known as Nord Ubangi. So it's here, okay? And that is where we have this option of Hama, okay? So try and remember that. And then we're going to look at this Lebo, because that is in Sud Ubangi in the Congo, which is here. You see how interesting that is, because you've got Hama in this region, but you've also got this Lebo in this region. So I was just wondering whether that could be in connection with this this Lebo Hamath, the entrance of Hamath, because you've actually got this Lebo and this Hamath in quite close proximity, with Hama and Lebo. So I was just wondering whether that could actually be Lebo Hamath, the entrance to Hamath. But this obviously, we don't want to get confused here, because there can only be one Hama the Great. This kingdom known as Hama or Kamat. There can only be one kingdom that's known that, because that was obviously a great kingdom in the Bible known as Hama the Great. And we can see how it's not going to be quite that easy just to locate it, because you've got these different options, and there might be other variations of this, because I saw there was also known as Amat, A-M-A-T, and there's quite a few options for that in this region of Nigeria as well. But I would say this could be possibly a very interesting possibility for Hama the Great in Nigeria, Kebbi. But it would take more research, and like I said, it would actually be very nice to have local people that have knowledge and maybe have the legends, and they might be able to confirm or deny. So I think we're getting towards the end of this video on the sons of Canaan. We've covered quite a few. I think we're starting to get an idea of these Canaanite tribes and these Phoenicians being very important in the ancient world, and we can see how they've taken their names and they've spread over vast potential areas of Africa, even going maybe to Portugal and Spain, and this is why it's known as the Maritime Empire for these Phoenicians. If we just look to see the sons of Canaan we've covered, we've looked at Hama, the Hamathites, we've looked at Arvad, the Arvadites, we spoke a little about the Girgashites, and the Archites, and the Hivites. Jebus, the Jebusites, we don't have too much information on this son, but Jerusalem was actually known as Jebus. Okay, so there were Jebusites living in the vicinity of Jerusalem, even until the time of King David, because the Israelites didn't completely capture Jerusalem, only until the time of King David, and so Jerusalem was known as Jebus, but the scholars don't think that this word Jebus is connected to Jerusalem, because Jerusalem means city of peace. Jeru, I think, is connected to city, or Uru, Uru Salam. So the Uru, I think, is the part that means city, and then the Salem, that's to do with peace, like Shalom. So the Jebusites were living near the vicinity of Jerusalem. And the Zemarites also, we don't have too much information on, but the Zemar, they connect to this word Sumer, and I was wondering whether this could be where that word Samaria comes from, because Samaria was an important region for the northern kingdom of Israel. So I wonder if this Zemar influences that word Samaria. Now in the next video we're going to look at the Sinites and the Sidonians, and that's going to be a very interesting video. And we're going to leave the Amorites for their own video, and also the Hittites for their own video as well, because the Hittites are very important in the ancient world, and we're going to see their influence. But until that next video on the Sinites and the Sidonians, take care, and we'll see you on the next one.